We're in London, aren't we? As Mark Goldbridge would say. Well, we're not in London yet, actually. I will be on my way to London right now, probably going into Wembley as we speak. Obviously, this is pre-recorded a little bit before the game, but this is your Manchester United versus Coventry road trip video. Manchester United, after this season, have somehow made it to the FA Cup semi-final and are facing Mark Robins' Coventry team. Will Manchester United get through? They have to get through, surely, but we cannot underestimate Coventry. And if you're wondering why the sun is shining really brightly and I'm in a massive coat, it's because in Manchester recently we're having 4 seasons in one day. So I stepped out this morning, it's pouring it down with rain, and now the sun is out shining. That's the way it is. I wonder what the weather will be like in London. I wonder if there'll be sunny skies as Manchester United get through to the FA Cup final. Because I'm saying it right here, right now, Manchester United, they have to win this game. Eric Ten Hag has to win this game. I don't want to underestimate Coventry because, you know what, they're in the FA Cup semi-final for a reason. They've beat good teams to get there. They beat Wolves. Yes, it was an injury-stricken Wolves, but they still beat them, and they beat them convincingly. Only just got it over the line, but in terms of the performance, they really had a good go at Wolves. They were really good in that game, and that caught my eye. And yes, out of the draw, most Man United fans would have been celebrating getting Coventry over the other options, but we still have to do the work to get this win over the line. If Manchester United's recent form is anything to go by, this could be a struggle. A lot of people are thinking Man United could slip up in this game, and I am not one of them people that's going into it with blind confidence. We're absolutely winning, like give us City or Chelsea in the final. No, I'm going into it thinking we've got to win this game. It's definitely not guaranteed, and we have to be on our best game in order to get this over the line, and we've not been doing that recently. But you would think the players, they're at Wembley, they're playing in front of all of the travelling fans. They've got to turn up for this performance, and I'm going to be honest. Even though Coventry, like I said, they've had a good season on the whole. They've had some good results. They've had some bad results. Manchester United should be able to turn up and beat Coventry. They have to be able to. But Eric Ten Hag has to put out a side there to go and do that. Our recent trips to London haven't been so successful. I mean, Brentford, that was a shocker. Chelsea, that was a decent performance but ended in a shocking result. And then right down to the south coast, Bournemouth wasn't good for us either. Travelling down south hasn't been good for us. Can we change the record? Can we change the story on this Sunday? And everyone's going to have their eye on the Saturday as well. Because if Manchester United get through, if we've got to do the work, we want to be facing Chelsea, surely. If we face Man City in the FA Cup final again, I can only see that going one way. I wish it was a different story. But Chelsea, it'll be a good game. Chelsea could easily beat us, but I think we have a good chance. Oh, the music's blasting. The music's blasting out. Do you know what? I think we should get a speaker out here and start that going. I'm enjoying that, getting me in the mood, the weekend mood for the FA Cup. So we're all Chelsea fans on Saturday. We all want a Chelsea United final, don't we? But first, we've got to concentrate on Coventry. Coventry are currently, let me just check. Yeah, they are currently 8th in the Championship. And the last few results, so they beat Leeds 2-1. Leeds are doing fantastically well. So that's a little bit of a, Coventry can turn up. But then the last 2 results after that, lost to Southampton 2-1. Southampton are a good side as well, so there's no shame in that. And then they lost to Birmingham 3-0, 8th in the Championship. They're not at the top of the Championship by any means, but they've had a good cup run this season and they've had some very good results, and that's something to be wary of. They will be going into this game and they will fancy themselves. Honestly, out of any team that they could have got out of Chelsea, City and United, I reckon if you ask all the Coventry players, they probably want United because they know we should be beating them. Of course we should. But they know that Manchester United can slip up. They've seen Man United's recent performances, winless in our last 4 Premier League games. Going into this game on that form, players will be thinking we can get in Manchester United here, and that's what we need to make sure we shut down straight away. Talking about lineups, how Eric Ten Hag does this. I mean, first things first, Eric Ten Hag has to win this game to save his job. His job already might be in doubt, but we're being told as of now by very reliable journalists that Ineos still say that the manager's job for Eric Ten Hag is still in the palm of his hands. It's up to him whether he stays as Manchester United manager. And I think winning the FA Cup will be a huge boost in Eric Ten Hag keeping his job into the summer. But first things first, you've got to get past Coventry. You lose to City or Chelsea in the final. All right, if you put up a decent performance, maybe you can take that. But losing to Coventry in the semi-final, it's just not an option. it really is not an option for Manchester United. So he's got to get through that. And to be honest, whatever team he puts out should be able to get this over the line. But you've got to go in there with your strongest side, and you've got to put the best side together in order to get this result. So who would you go for? Because there's a few question marks, but obviously there's a lot of people that pick themselves. We know for a fact that McTominay and Anthony are training again, that they are back in contention to play for Manchester United. Two players that were out of the Bournemouth game through injury, so they're back. So that's really good for Manchester United that them two are back. Would you start them? Let me know. Harry Maguire as well hasn't trained all week due to precaution. He should be travelling down to Coventry, and I assume he will start. So what would be your starting 11? Let me know in the comments. God, the hair's getting in my way here. But my starting 11 is obviously got to be Andre Onana in goal. Then you've got your right back as... I'd probably play Wan-Bissaka there if I'm going to be honest. I think Erik ten Hag should have swapped Wan-Bissaka and Dalot last game on different sides. Wan-Bissaka is not an attacking fullback, but least of all, he's not a left back. Dalot can play both. Play Wan-Bissaka in his best position. So I'd play Wan-Bissaka as a right back. Left back, I'd play Diogo Dalot. He can play both sides. He's having a very good season. Get him on that left back position. My two centre backs would be Harry Maguire and Kumbuala. Kumbuala, yeah, okay, he made an early mistake in that Bournemouth game, but I think for the rest of the game he was very good, and he was just a slip, and we don't really have any other option. What an experience for young Kumbuala, 19 years old, playing in a semi-final at Wembley for Manchester United. Absolutely huge. Now, this is the midfield I'd go for. I'd go for a midfield three of Kobbie Mainoo, Mason Mount and Bruno Fernandes. Now, I think Erik ten Hag will go with Casemiro, Kobbie Mainoo and Bruno Fernandes. I could almost bet my bottom dollar that that's exactly what Erik ten Hag's going to do. I think it's very predictable that he's going to go with that three. He was just been backing Casemiro a lot in his press conference, and Casemiro of last year, absolutely phenomenal. And to be fair, in cup ties, Casemiro's come up with goals, and he's been very good in our cup ties. Just in the league this season, he's been super poor. And yes, I think Kobbie Mainoo excels massively as an 8, but you can also play a 6. Like, what was Kobbie Mainoo's best game for Man United this season? There's been a lot of them, but it was against Liverpool in that 4-3 win, and he played as a 6. I would play him, and I'd play Mason Mount for the energy. He's got a point to prove, and obviously you've got to play your captain, Bruno Fernandes. Still going to say, most overhated player in the Premier League, and I expect him to turn up in this FA Cup, just like he did against Bournemouth, probably the only player that did. So that would be my midfield three, but I expect Casemiro to start, which I wouldn't be mad about, but I just think Mason Mount deserves minutes, and I think Casemiro has been underperforming. And then my front three would be Anthony, I think would be off the right, and then I would go with Alejandro Garnacho off the left and Rasmus Højlund up front. That would be my front three for Manchester United. And the reason being that would be my front three. And people will say, you know, Marcus Rashford should be starting. And Marcus Rashford will start. I assume Erik ten Hag will play Rashford, Garnacho and Rasmus Højlund. But the reason I would keep Anthony in this, well, I would put Anthony in the starting 11, not keep him in the starting 11, is because I think Anthony played really well against Chelsea. I thought he had a really good performance. And I think, do you know what it is with Garnacho and Rashford? Obviously, that's been our most successful front three this season. Garnacho, Rashford and Højlund. That's on paper. It's been our most successful front three. But Garnacho and Rashford are both very direct wingers, great in behind, great going one-on-one, dribbling at people, very pacey, very direct wingers. Anthony, he keeps the ball a little bit more, makes more passes into the midfield and kind of holds the ball up a little bit more. And I think Coventry, I'm going to be honest, I think they're going to approach us in a way, because the blueprint to beat Manchester United is to play a low block. Like, we can't figure it out. We've been super poor at it. So I feel like they are, especially in the first half, going to shut up shop a little bit against Manchester United. Maybe I'm underestimating it a little bit, and maybe I'm giving Manchester United a bit too much respect in this, but I assume they will play quite a deep line, and they will. They'll go at us, of course they will. They'll take their chances, but they'll be very defensively solid. They'll have a good shape in place. And for that, we've struggled to break it down. So I feel like if you have an Anthony or even an Amad Diallo's had some great cameos as well. You have someone who offers something. It's just a different profile to what a Garnacho and a Rashford is. I think Garnacho has to play because he's been the mainstay in our front three this season, and I think he's been our most effective forward player, if I'm going to be honest. Højlund's our only number 9 and our best outlet in that position. Rashford, I think for me, just misses out, but he's still a good weapon to have off the bench. You know, if this game, I'm not writing it off as if Manchester United are going to win 3 or 4-0. I think it will be a tough game. I mean, I hope it is a 3 or 4-0. I'm going there and expecting to be entertained, but I think it will be tough, and I think you're going to need options off your bench. We've seen how important that's been this season for us, so that's why I would give Anthony the chance. If he's not performing, you can bring on an Ahmad, you can bring on a Rashford. I think Garnacho should play after the season he's had. I know the Bournemouth game maybe got a little bit of criticism, was probably not his best game. Well, it wasn't his best game. He was pretty poor in that first half, but I think because he's been our most effective forward player this season, he has to play in that front line, and he deserves to play in the FA Cup semi-final. But you've got to have options off your bench, and that's what we have. You know, Eriksen, he's a question mark. You know, can he be useful off the bench? I definitely wouldn't start him, but we saw how useful he was in the FA Cup game against Liverpool at Old Trafford. Scott McTominay, does he play instead of Casemiro? That's another player. I know people are going to think I'm mad, but based on recent form, you know, Scott McTominay has the legs. He can scan the area. If Erik ten Hag tells him to play deep, he can be disciplined. But the worry about starting Scott McTominay is he's going to play 2 basically 10s in Bruno and Scott McTominay, so that would be a worry. But get in the comments what would you do. Get in the comments your score predictions. How excited are you? Are you going to be at Wembley? Are you going to come and say hello? We'll be there, Wembley Way, and also we're going to be bringing so much content from Wembley. Stay tuned on the United Stand. I'm going to go with my score prediction of 2-1 to Manchester United, 2-1. I think it's going to be an edgy game, but I think we will get through it. Will we have extra time? Will we have penalties? Let me know your predictions. Come on, Manchester United. Could you imagine an FA Cup final after the poor season we've had to deal with this season? Getting to the FA Cup final, it could be a glimmer of hope for Manchester United, and we could end the season with a silver lining, and that's all we want. These young players deserve it, and I think it would be great for Erik ten Hag to just have that little boost. FA Cup final, Wembley, how many times is that now? Quite a few times in 2 years. That's something you can hold on to. Hit a like on the video, guys. I hope you like the road trip. See you in London, see you at Wembley, and hopefully we're talking about Manchester United going through to the FA Cup final.